So you have a note to talk about screen time here. I'm curious what that's about.
Oh yeah, screen time. Gosh, I'm one to keep track of screen time, just because I like to keep an eye on how much I'm using my phone. Not so much the Mac, but the phone. I don't want to be, racking up hours. It's a sign that I need to start doing other things when I see the screen time number being a little bit high. So yeah,
Right.
and I actively try and keep my screen time down, and I like on a Sunday when I get that little notification saying, "Oh, it's down 10% from last week." I'm like, yes, I had a good week with screen time. I'm not addicted to my phone as I thought I was.
Or at least as you were 2 weeks prior.
Yeah, exactly. But it all started when I got a notification on my phone that said, your screen time was up whatever percent for a total of 26 hours a day. And at first I thought, wow, that's a bit excessive. And then half a second later I twigged, actually, that's not possible because there are only 24 hours in a day.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't too worried straight away. I thought, there's probably a bug somewhere with screen time. I'll wait and see what comes up next week. Next week, it's you're up another 100 and something percent for 32 hours a day.
Oh,
which is
my goodness, James.
Incredible. I am just smashing screen time. I'm finding time where there is none. If you want to get stuff done, come to me, because I've apparently got 32 hours in a day.
That means you've got your phone, your iPad, and your Mac on all day, every day.
Yeah, I didn't actually think that it was like a cumulative thing like that. But that does explain how it could get so high. Because if you're using all three at the same time, then say if you use all three 24 hours a day, then you're at 72 hours. 72 hours. So that's how it works. That wasn't clear to me. So
did you identify the source of the issue?
Yeah, my first step was to go to the Mac, because screen time's not that great on the Mac to begin with. And I immediately found that Safari and a specific web app that I use for work was just keeping some background audio going 24 hours a day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that actually explained a little weird behavior that I'd noticed some months back, where I wasn't working, and I think I hit the play pause button on the keyboard, and a piece of audio that I would have listened to during working hours just started randomly playing when nothing work related was open. So it's either Safari bug or a Atlassian bug that's causing that. So I turned off screen time on the Mac because I didn't really care about it. And when I check the screen time hours at the end of the week, I normally just minus out the working hours from that anyway. So I thought, all right, I'll just turn it off. I'm not really addicted to the Mac anyway. But then another week goes by and I get a notification and it says, you've been using your phone for 8 hours a day. And that is still really excessive for me. That's probably maybe a 4x on what I would expect. So this time I jumped into the phone screen time settings. And number one was maps, and I thought, oh, that's weird. Maybe for some reason it just counted when I was doing navigation sometime, or maybe something was using geolocation and it just counted towards map screen time. But then number two was Overcast, which is the podcast playing app. And then it twigged, does CarPlay count towards screen time? And 2 seconds of Googling later, and it does, which is just so annoying, because when you are using CarPlay, you are not logging screen time. Or, you shouldn't be, because you're not looking at the screen. Hopefully, you're looking at the road. Plus, there's nothing interesting on the screen to look at. So basically, screen time is dead to me until that's reconfigured so that CarPlay doesn't count towards screen time.
I hadn't thought about that. Okay, so that explains 48 of your 36 hours. Where does the other 24 hours come from in a day? Is it an iPad?
No, so it was 32 hours. So it was 24 hours from the Mac, and then 8 hours from the phone, which included many hours of CarPlay time. Okay. So it was, CarPlay plus actual usage plus Mac bug equaled 32 hours.
I got you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
That makes me feel better about my screen time numbers. I just looked it up, and my average screen time is 4.5 hours, which sounds like it's twice what you average on your phone.
Yeah, twice what I would target, probably. It varies usually week by week anyway.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I've never looked at my screen time numbers.
Do you not get that notification at the end of each week?
I get the notification. I just don't pay attention to it because, I don't know. It's not actionable data to me. Maybe I need to start thinking about that and trying to be more healthy about screen time and use those numbers as a guide for lowering my average time. But it's just not something I've ever concerned myself with.
Yeah, I guess it's not necessarily important to worry about it. Like, depends. Do you feel like screen time is healthy for you? Like, are you sitting there getting things done, or more how I feel is that if I'm looking at my phone screen and I'm typically procrastinating.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm doing my work on my phone. So I guess any time I spend on my phone is either procrastinating or leisure time. That's a challenge I've had with this last year of isolation and like fully remote work is that barrier between work and leisure time is kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it hard to relax. I always feel guilty because I work from home. I feel like I should always be working, and I when I'm unproductive, I feel bad about myself. So I kind of feel like I'm like, even if my work day is done and I'm just sitting on the couch playing on my phone or watching TV or whatever, I feel like I'm still procrastinating, even though that's not the case.
Well, at some points, like peak COVID, if I was just like sitting on the couch with my computer and it's nighttime, I'd be like, well, maybe I'll do a bit of work and just like log on to work stuff and start doing it. And there's absolutely no point. I mean, I'm not getting paid overtime. I'd already done my work for the day, but I must have been feeling the same to be compelled to even think of doing that.
It's not even necessarily work. It's just like I have to be productive in general. And it's that kind of mentality that's led me to like try to do like Twitch streaming, because if like a new video game comes out and I want to play it, I can never justify taking the leisure time to play a video game. But if I stream myself playing the video game, I can like try to convince myself like this could be a theoretically monetizable thing I do. So if I'm streaming it, then I'm being somewhat productive, and I give myself permission to play the game then.
I know that feeling, like the feeling that you want to do something, but you need like 2 compelling reasons to do it. I get that for a lot of things. But back to you. You have a Twitch channel, and how do I find you goodness.
on it? Well, I'm Jellywoot on Twitch, just like everywhere else. But I stream very rarely. But you will see me, I think if you go on there, there'll be a VOD of the last game I wanted to play, which was Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. And I've played that in 1 or 2 hour chunks every day for, I don't know, 5 days or so, and got consistently 0 viewers the whole time. But it's okay because I got to play a game I wanted to play.
Is it Jellywoot with zeros or O's?
Zeros.
All right.
I actually don't know how long those videos stay up there. They might already be gone.
Oh yeah, is there like a time limit on? Oh god, it's asking me for text codes and stuff.
I'm very not fluent in Twitch, so I don't know anything about it.
I'll follow you later.
All right, let's see. It looks like there's still 2 videos up, but the other ones are gone, which probably means these will disappear at any time because these were all done back to back.
So they're gone for good. So Twitch isn't like creating a library of streams?
Oh, wait, if I could... No, it's not even... It doesn't even save your streams by default. You have to enable that to save them as videos after the fact. So I turned that setting on, but it looks like it's only for a short period of time because only 2 of the streams are up.
I bet it's a premium feature to keep forever.
Oh, you're probably right. Either that or you have to get partnership status or something. That makes sense.
So tell me about NFC tag home automation.
All right, I've got mixed feelings about this. I put this note in here when I was really excited about it, and I've gotten progressively less excited over the week. So a year or two ago, whenever Apple added the ability to trigger shortcuts from your own programmable NFC tags, I bought a bag of blank tags and never did anything with them. They just have sat in a drawer for a year or two. And I decided to finally get them out the other day and try to come up with reasons to use them. And so what I did was I put NFC tags just around the house in common places I do things. Things that I would usually say, yo Siri, do this and that. I just set up an NFC tag with a shortcut to do it. So like my desk in my office has a tag to turn on and off my office lights. And I have an NFC tag next to my front door that does the I'm leaving and I'm home scenes. It'll trigger those. And I've got one on my bedside table to trigger good night and good morning. And I was excited about it. I got one on a kid's TV to turn it on and off because it's on the smart switch. But it's very inconsistent. So I put this note in here initially because I was excited and it was working great. And I was getting frustrated with Siri. I guess that frustrated is the right word. Frustrated is not right. There are times like in the morning when I'm getting out of bed and I'm coming into the office and I've got a work meeting in a few minutes that I need to call into that I just don't feel like talking. And so if I can just set my phone down on my desk and it like triggers the scene and turns my office lights on for me and I don't have to say anything, that was nice. But it's very inconsistent. Your phone has to be awake. Like the screen can't be off because it won't read the NFC tags when the screen is off, which I didn't initially think was going to be a problem because it turns on when you pick it up. But when I have tags in positions where I wanted to set my phone down near them or lay my phone down next to it to turn it on, it didn't consistently turn the screen on. So I had to tap the screen a lot to turn it on, which is annoying. And also, it seems like it can trigger the automations if your phone is completely unlocked and on the home screen, but it's less consistent. The ideal condition for triggering an NFC tag automation is for your phone to be unlocked but still on the lock screen, which is hard to do, I guess just because of force of habit. I always swipe on my phone when I take it out of my pocket. So I've had to get in the habit of just tapping the screen and staying on the lock screen to touch a tag. And even then, sometimes I gotta like drag my phone around on the tag and slide it around a bit to trigger it. Maybe they're weak tags and I need better ones, but I quickly stopped using them. So what I thought was going to be great ended up being kind of miserable.
Is it like any particular tag that's not reliable, or are they all the same borderline of unreliable? Same borderline? No, same
they're
standard.
all. It's not just one specific tag that's causing me a problem. It's all of them around the house. Because I thought it was going to save me time, where I could just walk in my office and tap a tag and the lights turn on or off, versus saying, yo, Siri. I mean, we're talking about fractions of a second time save, but it actually ends up costing me more time because I've got to fiddle around with it and get it lined up just right and make sure my phone is in the right state to read a tag. And so it ended up costing time. And because of that, I've stopped using them and went back to just controlling everything with my HomePods.
If you've rolled out of bed and you don't even feel like talking, then the last thing you want to do is to futz around with your phone, unlocking, staying on the lock screen and sliding around on your desk, huh?
Right, yeah. Although I'm gonna transition this into just general complaining about Siri.
Go ahead.
Or I guess
my favorite
HomePods
topic
specifically. Personal requests with Siri have gotten really bad in the last year, which is the setting on your HomePod where you can have multiple people and it can read your phone call or your messages or whatever based on who's talking to it. Even in my house where it's just me, my HomePod only knows my voice. I would say 50% of the time, if I ask the HomePod to do something personal, it responds with who's talking, and then
Can you turn that off?
50% of the you can, but you lose personal requests entirely, so you can't make phone calls or send text messages.
Completely lose it. Oh, what a pain.
So I can respond with my name, and then I'd say about 50% of the time after that, it will either progress like normal. It'll do what I asked it to do, or it'll say you need to authenticate on your iPhone, which requires me to pull my phone out of my pocket and for it to scan my face for it to continue through with whatever I asked it to do. And the phone takes over whatever the request was. So the typical scenario where there's an issue is when I'm making a phone call. If I'm sitting at my desk in my office and I want to call someone, I usually do it on my HomePod. I say, yo Siri, call so-and-so.
Huh.
And it's consistently asked me more and more in the last year to verify who I am, which means I scans my face, which isn't usually an issue because my phone's on a stand, so I just tap it and it scans my face. But then the call picks up on my phone, and I've got to put my phone to my ear to talk now.
It's a complete waste of time then to even try it on the HomePod.
Right. And I don't know if Siri's just forgotten what my voice sounds like, or my voice has changed significantly in the last year. But it used to be, bang on. And even in a house with multiple people, multiple users on there, I never had to verify who I was more than like once a month. And it's just gotten worse and worse to the point where I just hate using it now.
So it must not be like Face ID where it, if it does a scan and fails, but then asks for the passcode for Face ID, then it kind of adds that to its little algorithm to say like, oh, that's the face. So next time it's probably okay to authenticate that. So it must not be doing anything like that for your voice, which is a little frustrating.
Yeah. I think maybe what I need to do is go back into my phone Siri settings and I don't know if I can clear it out and have it relearn my voice.
Yes, I'm pretty sure you can, because I'm pretty sure I did that once. Thinking back,
that's only half of my HomePod complaints for the day.
Oh, all right, please go on.
HomePod Mini with the tap to hand off is less consistent than a regular HomePod, even with the ultra wideband chip.
Because the full-size HomePod is super reliable with the handoff. I had no issues ever.
It's great. I've never had a full-size HomePod not hand off for me. However, and this is another about 50% of the time thing, I go into my bathroom, take a shower, and I pick a podcast on my phone before I get in the shower, and then I go to tap my HomePod to pass it over to the Mini so I can actually hear it. And it just doesn't do anything. My phone doesn't vibrate with the proximity thing, and I can be rubbing my phone on the HomePod or take it away for a few seconds and put it back.
Very sensual. So you're naked at this point.
Yes, I'm naked and I'm rubbing the HomePod, and nothing is happening. And I don't know what it is, but if it doesn't work, it just won't work. I can take the phone away, leave it for a few minutes, stop and restart podcasts, whatever. The HomePod Mini will not pick it up. And so I end up having to AirPlay to it, which defeats the purpose a little bit, because then it's still playing from my phone to the HomePod, and yeah. And it's just more work than tapping. And it takes up even more time because I wasted a bunch of time fiddling with the HomePod instead of just hitting AirPlay in the first place.
Okay.
So
you're on the beta OSs though, are you not? Maybe it's something to do with that.
That's true. I didn't think about that. All my devices are on beta OSs.
Yeah, this is fresh in my mind because I went to tweet an app developer yesterday, like, oh, your app sucks, it never works. And then I typed it out, and then I was about to hit send, and I thought, wait a second, I'm pretty sure I'm on all the betas, so maybe I shouldn't send it with with all this anger. Maybe I should send it more of a, oh, I'm on the betas and it doesn't work in this way. So it's a possibility that that's the same case for you.
That is a fairly reasonable explanation, because I was not experiencing this issue with my HomePod Mini initially after getting it. So that does line up pretty well with when I started using the 14.5 betas.
We are pretty deep in the beta cycle though. Even one of the topics today is beta 4? Yeah, no, beta 3 of 14.5.
Yeah, I think we're going to see 14.5 Well, they said it's coming out early spring, so that means we still have about a month until spring. But we're getting closer.
Well, that still doesn't explain the HomePod voice recognition personal requests issue, though, since that's been going on and getting progressively worse for a lot longer than just this beta period.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be because I never set up my phone like from a backup. I always set up as a fresh device. So that means when I got my 12 Pro Max just a few months ago in November, I assumed that at that point I would have retrained Siri. So maybe I trained it poorly at that point, and that's why it's gotten so bad.
But the HomePod's personal request voice training is part of the HomePod setup, not the phone setup. I don't remember having trained Siri on my phone for ever, basically. I guess that's because I don't really set up devices from scratch, though.
So yeah, they do ask for you to say a couple requests when you set up your phone.
Yeah, well, the HomePod does that too, though, so perhaps that's on the cards after the show.
If HomePod is completely different and it's going off of whatever my initial setup was when I got the HomePod 5 years ago, who knows? Maybe my voice has changed.
Your voice has dropped 2 octaves in that time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's gone up because you're not singing as much.
Yeah, that's true. I miss my singing. Can't do it right now, though.
You can't sing right now?
Well, I sing a bit, but I can't get together with a chorus or anything.
Maybe that could be your nighttime hobby. Just create a Twitch 4-way Zoom call and do a bit of a barbershop.
Oh man, singing over any kind of Zoom call is just impossible. You can't harmonize with someone when everyone's like half a second off from each other.
Yeah, okay. I imagine that'd be pretty tricky.
So I shipped my DTK back to Apple, which was heartbreaking for me because it's such a unique piece of technology that would have been an awesome addition to my collection of computers, but it wasn't worth risking my personal Apple account over. I'm not going to trade all my family photos for a prototype computer from Apple. However, I did keep the box, which I'm hoping I won't get in trouble for because I was told to keep it and then send it back in the box. But I kept the developer transition kit box and the little booklet it came with about, you're the future of the Mac and things like that. So that's sitting on my shelf. But the computer itself is wrapped in bubble wrap and on its way back to Apple.
David, you're playing fast and loose with your family photos there, keeping that box. You're going to have a sternly worded letter from someone.
I wouldn't have kept it. I was ready to send the box back until I got an email the other day from them with the full shipment instructions. And the shipment instructions said, send it back to Apple in the box it came in. But then it said, or if you don't have the box, use a suitable replacement.
Oh, okay.
So at that point, I felt like they weren't gonna give me any issues.
And no one besides us knows that you still got the box, so I think you're in the clear. Did you consider just sticking like some old Mac Mini, maybe spray painted, in the bubble wrap instead? Because who's going to open it?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know what they're going to do with it. Hopefully not look too closely because I did open it up to take a look inside. So I don't know what their process is like or if there was some kind of secret like warranty void kind of tag that I accidentally triggered. But hopefully not.
I bet it goes straight on the conveyor belt towards the incinerator. We're going to see a lot of black smoke coming out of Apple Park in the coming months.
Yeah, they have to want them back just to destroy them. They're not going to do anything else with them.
You'd think not. I mean, they would keep some of them. just for the purposes of history?
Apple is not very sentimental about their old devices.
They didn't used to be, but I think you explained on the show before that they've been like buying things off eBay just to try and build the collection back up.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe they care a little bit more now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so they should.
I believe that. They're probably not going to take a developer's old Mac Mini, though. I'm sure they have some they made and never even shipped out.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. BNIB, as they say.
That's right. That's new old stock.
The other month, I was in the, I visited a friend who worked at a newspaper, and because I was with him, I got past, like, the typical public are allowed area, and they had an old wall filled with all the cameras that the journalists had used, or the newspaper had used, over the past 100 years or whatever. And that wall must have been worth like millions of dollars. You should have seen what they had
really?
there. It was incredible. So it's an investment, Apple. I know you're a bit short on cash, but Apple should definitely keep a wall of old computers at least, because it does nothing but increase in value.
Yeah. Yeah, if all they need is a few Apple Ones around in stock still, and they could get millions of dollars.
Oh, well, end of an era, really, with the DTK out the door.
Yeah, now I just wait for my credit and then something exciting to spend it on.
Ooh, yeah, can't wait. Maybe it has something to do with our first topic as I quickly shuffle the topics around. Good morning.
Good morning.
First up today is a stunning new 2020 iMac leak. It reveals a new design in 5 colors. The source of this, or the article is on iMore that we're reading from, but the source is John Prosser. Love him or hate him. But I thought, why don't I go and actually have a look at Apple Track? You're familiar with Apple Track, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, it's Apple Track. Keeps track of the people who report on rumours. And John Prosser is at 78.2% accuracy, which is pretty good. It's really good.
Yeah. It's not quite at Mark Gurman or Ming Chi Kuo levels, but it's up there.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. And so the rumour is that, we've got some design concepts based on leaks from various sources. So I guess these truly are just concepts. But I think the biggest thing that we haven't really talked about before is that they'll come in various colours. So you'll have silver, black, aka space grey probably, mint, Bondi blue, maybe, or just a light blue, and pink, rose gold, whatever you want to call it as well. It's not too Apple-y to make computers in various colours, but that's only talking about recent history, because if you go back to, of course, the original iMacs, they came in all sorts of colours, so why not?
Right, yeah. Colorful computers is both not Apple and signature Apple at the same time.
Exactly.
Just different eras. And I would love to get back to this mentality Apple had in the late 90s and early 2000s of computers being more than like cold, unfeeling machines. And they're supposed to be playful and fun and just as much like a decoration or an accent or an extenuation of your personality. And I will definitely buy a bunch of colorful computers from Apple if they make some not, solid metal or black computers.
And there's the whole thing that people like to have a set of the same color of devices. So say they release a rose gold iMac and you buy that. Well, maybe now I should think about a rose-colored iPhone and an iPad, and suddenly Apple's raking in a bit of extra cash on the side.
Get some AirPods Max to go with them.
In rose gold? Oh, yeah, they do.
They come in a reddish color. That's
right.
Like this rumored iMac color.
Yeah, true.
So, because these are specifically supposed to be the same colors as the iPad Air. which I don't think that's called rose gold. It's something else, closer to a pink or red.
Salmon.
Yeah. So of these computers, if you were in the market for an iMac and these existed, what color would you want?
It's a good question. I didn't consider it for myself. If you remember back to when I bought the M1 MacBook Air, and the only one they had in stock was the salmon, or I think, do they call that one rose gold? They might do.
Might.
So I bought that because it was the only one in stock, and it turned out I really liked that color. I mean, it was like some light it was bronze, sometimes it was pink, sometimes it was orange. You know, you never knew what you were going to get when you went to that computer. Kept you on your toes. That's mostly a joke, but I did really like the color. So there's a distinct possibility I would go for rose gold. But at the same time, the blue one I've always felt a little bit of an affinity for because, harking back to the original iMacs, it was called Bondi Blue. And there's not too much sort of Australianism when it comes to Apple products, so if they happen to call it Bondi Blue, I'd have to really think long and hard about not getting that one.
They definitely won't. If it's air colors, it can be sky blue or whatever. But
it's
really
like
cool.
the start of a new generation of iMacs, and what was it back then? The same thing. So it'd be such
generation of iMacs.
Such a sweet nod to the past.
That would be cool. I think these would look a lot better if they put the 6-color Apple logos on them.
Ooh. If it was on the back, I could get behind it, but if it was in like one of the corners of the bezels, probably not.
I want it on everything. I want to see that 6-color logo. Like, they took away the glowing Apple logos on the laptops, and I could live with that if they replaced it with the 6-color one, but just this boring matte finish one is not exciting for me.
Okay.
I think it's between the blue and the green for me, and I'm leaning towards green right now. I really liked the mint green color on the 11 last year, and if it was offered in the Pro color, I would have gotten it. But this might be my chance to finally add some mint green to my life.
Just what you need, some freshening up, eh?
Yeah, you're telling me. So, but I wouldn't be a person who wants a matching set. I would want like one of everything. So if I got a mint green iMac, I would want like a blue iPad and a red phone, and I want like a whole rainbow collection of devices.
That's crazy talk. No, you gotta have all matching colors.
Oh no, that's not fun and playful.
It looks so good when you stack them on top of each other. And what if they all were the same design language, like a flat side with the curved corners and flat on the back and the front? You've got your iMac, then your whatever the next generation MacBook Pro, then your iPad, then your phone. You don't actually have to use them all. You just have to look at them stacked on your desk.
Your watch and your headphones.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the watch fits into this.
I've got a blue and red watch. But imagine they were all different colors and you stacked them up. It would look like that, what's that children's ring toy where you stack the different colored rings in progressively smaller sizes?
Okay, yep.
It looked like that, and that's awesome.
Ugly. All right, we're clearly on different opinions.
I definitely wouldn't go for a silver or black, though. Like, I would want something exciting and playful.
I think silver and black's probably produced primarily for maybe the corporate world. Maybe people who use iMacs at like a front desk or a point of sale terminal. Boring places.
I think there's a lot of people who would go for that. Especially if you just look at the comment section on the Reddit post. A lot of people are calling these ugly. And I think it's because like the idea of what it means to own an Apple computer has changed so much in the last couple decades. Because they're not like bubbly fun accessories that happen to be computers anymore. They're like just these cold, unfeeling machines, and they're all metal and they're all sharp corners, and they just do their job quietly with no personality. And I miss the bubbly and exciting days.
You know what would give it a lot of personality? If they built a handle into the top of it. They could hide it, like under some sort of latch or like fully retractable, but if you needed to carry that thing around, there was a handle there waiting for you, showing you just how friendly it was.
That I think that could be cool. I don't think it's as necessary anymore just because computers are not nearly as heavy as they used to be in the 90s if you're carrying a CRT around.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are terrifying to carry now. Whenever I move my G3 iMacs, they are so heavy, and it does not feel like these little plastic handles should hold the weight. And whenever I have to move them anywhere, I feel like that's going to snap off and I'm going to destroy my computer.
Just pre flat screens, I bought I bought a massive CRT monitor. Like it's one of the biggest CRTs you could get for your computer screen, and I think we're talking like maybe 21 inches CRT, and it took all my strength to pick that up. It was very borderline that I could move that unit just by myself, and that wasn't even with the computer inside. It was literally just the screen.
Man, how far we've come.
How far? Any other thoughts on the design of these mock-ups that we've got there? I think we have talked about how they're going to kind of follow on from the Pro Display XDR's design. Flat sides, flat backs, thicker sides, kind of like smaller bezels as well. And kind of like a bigger iPad with a stand.
Right.
And no touch, of course.
And these renders don't show the fronts, but I assume the days of the chin are gone, and we're just going to have a nice, uniform, all-screen front, and that's going to be awesome, because these current iMac designs are looking pretty long in the tooth.
They certainly are. And my parents are still kicking around with a 2008 24-inch iMac, can you believe? It's on its last legs, that's for sure, but when you look at it, it doesn't look that old. It doesn't look like a 12, 13-year-old computer.
Yeah, the design would be very similar. 2008 is where they went to the edge-to-edge glass, right? So you don't have that small metal border around the screen anymore.
Actually, theirs still does, so maybe it was... Theirs is an early 2008, to be precise.
Okay. Yeah. So, besides that small metal border then, the design is almost the same.
Yeah, and the aspect ratio.
Aspect ratio.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, you wouldn't tell unless you were looking from the side and realized how much thicker it was.
Part 2 of this rumor is a Mac Pro Mini, which has also been mocked up and described as 3 to 4 Mac Minis stacked on top of each other. I am less convinced by this computer because I can't really see what the point of it would be. We've got a Mac Mini, and then if you want more in a desktop Mac that's standalone, we've got a Mac Pro. Does there need to be something in the middle?
I feel like this is going to exist as like a transition or a stepping stone product where you get Mac Pro performance out of Apple Silicon, but exists as a separate product so the Mac Pro can live on as long as it needs to, because there's always going to be professionals that need legacy support for one thing or another or have to use x86. And I imagine they're going to keep that computer around as long as they can to facilitate the transition, wait for software or whatever else to catch up. So for those people that don't need to wait, they can get this small one that uses Apple Silicon. But I guess it's also if you don't need expansion at all, because it doesn't look like this would fit any kind of PCI Express cards in them.
Well, it could do. I mean, all we're seeing is the very front of it. If you're talking about the front and the sides, imagine the sides stretching back like 2 Mac Minis, and then suddenly you do have a fair bit of space and could think about putting some sort of expansion card in there. Probably only 1 or 2 though.
Sure. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Mac Pro I don't know, live on for like 3 or 4 more years, where they have this M1 Mac Pro that most people should buy, but they just keep the existing one around without updating it, as kind of like something you can special order if you absolutely need x86.
That's very convincing.
Yeah, there's always going to be that one niche where someone still needs an Intel processor, and it seems like Apple would want to continue serving that market until everyone can transition.
So the Mac Pro Mini would say actually be the Mac Pro, but just the M1 variant of it. And then the full-size Mac Pro Tower is the Intel variant, which continues on until Intel is just completely gone.
Right. And we'll see if that makes sense, because it seems like Apple learned a pretty big lesson with the last Mac Pro, that people want expansion and this, that, and the other, and going back to a tiny kind of self-contained form factor would kind of be defeating the purpose of Mac Pro again.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Interesting to see what the Mac Pro Mini will be then. I'm pretty convinced that it will have some form of expansion available.
This could also not be the Mac Pro Mini. This could be the Mac Mini Pro.
Flip it around.
I think right. So it's a more powerful Mac Mini, but it's not a small Mac Pro.
But in these days where an M1 means everything is just way smaller, you could probably make a Mac Mini Pro out of the current Mac Mini case. Because what's it going to need all that space for?
Well, it depends on how they make their chips faster. If they literally just add, two more cores or 4 more cores and double the die size, then they could make that a little bigger and put some bigger cooling. And I guess the existing case could already have enough room for that. But I don't know.
All right.
This could also be just completely something made up, and John Prosser is wrong.
Well, there's 21 point something chance that that is indeed true. Actually, there's more to this article. I didn't scroll down past the ads. Actually, that's the other point, that a replacement for the Thunderbolt display, so a low-cost display, is also on the cards. Apple sorely needs a cheaper display, and I bet they would sell a ton of them. It's free money. All they need is to put the product out there and then get the rake ready.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely something that's needed. It's something that I would buy one, if not two of on day one, because as I was complaining to you about at the beginning of the show, my LG Ultrafine is losing my wired connections, so I'd be happy to be rid of it.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like a bit of a hassle. And releasing this display at the same time as the iMac would make a lot of sense, because chances are they're going to have a very similar design. I mean, just make the iMac and don't put the computer inside. There you go. There's your low-cost monitor in 2 sizes as well, if you wanted. Although probably they wouldn't do the smaller size.
And they probably wouldn't do colors. It'd
probably
be one color.
I would have gone with yes for the colors.
Really? I don't know. Think about the amount of inventory that Apple stores are going to have to keep if every product they have is offered in 5 colors.
That was the number one comment on the Reddit thread as well, from someone who sounds like they've got some inside knowledge. RIP Apple retail inventory rooms. King Lucent commented that, by the way.
I'm all for a bunch of colorful things, but that's not something they've ever done, is have their external displays be multiple colors.
No, but they were all the same color when all the computers were the same color as well, as far as I remember.
They had CRT standalone displays, and they were translucent, just clear. And then they did make a standalone LCD display in the G3, G4 days, and it was blue, kind of like the blue iMacs, but that was the only color you could get it in.
Wow. You are a fountain of Apple history knowledge, that's for sure.
I really like my old Apple.
Yeah, you sure do. So a new image claims to be the first real world look first real-world look at Apple's next-generation AirPods, image shared by 52 Audio, prominent and famed Apple leaking site, showcases both the AirPods. Also, this is a site who posted an X-ray claiming to be the new AirPods, however, was later proven to be faked and simply a compressed X-ray of the current AirPods. So, I think we can also take this as 100% a rumor, possibly a fake. But I think it's still interesting to talk about what the next AirPods will bring. I know we've done it before.
Right. This is close enough to in line with what a lot of other leakers and rumors have been saying, that even if they did completely fake this picture, it's still a good idea of what we're going to see.
So they've conveniently hidden the tips section of the AirPods.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're going to release standard AirPods, non-Pro AirPods in this format, there is no way in hell that they're going to have any silicon tips. Because, well, they're not going to have noise cancelling, because that's going to be a feature of only the AirPods Pro. This is all my theory.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Because there has to be a differentiator between AirPods and AirPods Pro, and noise cancelling is guaranteed to be probably the headlighting differentiating feature. So they can't have silicon ear tips then, because you can't have something that's shoved in your ear and making you hear worse, much worse than without them. And
Apple sold devices that did that all the time in the past.
Are you talking about the cabled in ears?
Mm-hmm. With the silicone tips?
Yeah, that was different though, because they didn't have any noise cancelling AirPods for sale, headphones for sale. Mm-hmm. Active noise cancelling, I mean. But they still had to sell something that was noise cancelling, because what if you wanted to use Apple headphones and do it on a plane? You couldn't use the standard bundled ones.
I think that I agree that they shouldn't have to have tips, because that just isolates too much of the market. Too many people
Good pun.
think they're too many people think they're uncomfortable or can't wear them, and I'm included in that. I hate things in my ears like that. They create a seal. However, if I take these pictures and renders at face value and believe they're true, it almost looks like these tips could be optional. And if you could take the tips off and still use them, I think that this could be actually an awesome product, because then it could fit way more ears and more comforts levels or styles or whatever.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, optional ear tips. So when you do want to have a bit of isolation, not cancelling, just isolation, you can stick the tips on there.
Right.
But it just doesn't seem really aptly to give that option, because then you'd have to carry around these little tips with you as well. What if your commute to work was walk for a while and then catch a train? When you're walking, you didn't want to have any isolation on the train, you did, and then you got these silicon tips rolling around in your pocket collecting lint, and then you have to put them on your AirPods and stick them in your ear.
They'd stay in the case when you're not using them.
Yeah, there'd be a spot in the case for them.
Well, I would assume that the case would be able to facilitate the AirPods with the tips in there, with the tips attached. So if you detach the tips, they could still sit in that little recessed area they would go if they were on the AirPods.
Seems a little fiddly to me.
Yeah, this is completely made up off the top of my head. No one has said this but me. But if they do it, I'm taking credit, and this is my leak, and Apple Track better give me 100%.
100% jelly woot. Well, the thing is that aftermarket tips have existed for regular AirPods. Pretty much
really?
since you can get silicon ones, you can get like the headphone material ones, that I don't know what you call it. It's
foam.
Like a foam, like a loose foam. I actually have a whole pack because I bought some once. It stretches over the head of your AirPod, like a regular AirPod.
Okay.
And it does actually provide a pretty good fit if the AirPod's a little bit loose in your ear, because it increases the thickness all around by like a mil or two. So they're a good option.
Okay. But do they then not fit in your case?
They then don't fit in. No, actually the foam ones I'm talking about, they do, because foam compresses really well, but any of the silicone ones, of course, you have to take the little thing off before you put them into your case.
Right.
The smaller stem that's rumoured, I think is quite welcome, because the current AirPod stem is pretty long, like just borderline dorky looking long. But maybe I'm still just getting accustomed to them 5 years later. But yeah, I would welcome a shorter stem.
I agree. The rumors, I don't think they're said in this article, but they have been said over the last couple months, is that AirPods are going to be adopting the current AirPods Pro design, and AirPods Pro are at least being experimented with losing the stem entirely and getting it almost like a complete in-ear, like a Galaxy Bean kind of shape to them.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting to have that distinction.
I'm not as bothered by the stems anymore, though. When AirPods are brand new, I got some weird looks and more than a couple comments about my earrings when I was wearing them.
Your earrings?
People frequently thought they were earrings for some reason. I'm not sure how, but I got that more than a couple times.
People are just more forward in your area. I only got the weird looks, really. Never had any comments.
Well, it wasn't from strangers. It was usually friends or family.
Okay.
Who would say, like, when did you get earrings? But now they're so common and popular headphones that having AirPods in your ear is like having a white cord in the iPod days. It's just an iconic look.
That's it. It's iconic.
I'm not nearly as bothered by the stems anymore.
Speaking of stems, the next standard AirPods are supposed to also get the squeeze function, or the force press, or whatever it's officially called, instead of the double tap to function whatever you decide that function's going to be. I'm not sad to see the double tap go. It's never that comfortable a thing. I reckon I get like an 80% success rate doing it as well. I've had various technique tips over the years, like actually just double tap your ear, or just double tap behind your ear and the AirPod picks it up, and it's a bigger target. The two main issues are you're like tapping something in your ear, which just for some reason is uncomfortable. And secondly is that it's such a small target that you kind of have to like get your technique off. Oh, my middle finger goes just in front of my ear, and then my pinky's like corner of my eye, thumb's just below the earlobe, and then I should be able to double tap it. It's not quite as bad as that, but and I've never tried the force squeeze either, so I can't really say, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, it seems like you're having a lot harder time with this than I am. I've never really thought twice about how I need to position my fingers to tap on my AirPods. And as far as triggering them go, I've had, I think, much closer to 100% success rate than it sounds like you have. I do agree that it can be uncomfortable at times to be tapping something in your ears. My only concern, I haven't tried the squeeze either because I've never used the pros, but a lot of times when I'm tapping on my AirPods is when I'm walking somewhere. And so having an interaction method with these AirPods that don't require me to grab them anyway, I think prevents them from falling out of my ears a bit. I can tap my AirPods without worrying about knocking them out, but if I have to grab onto them and squeeze them while I'm walking, I could, over the course of taking a step, accidentally like yank it out while I'm holding on to it. So I'm not sure how comfortable that is or how much that's actually the case, but that's my number one concern.
Sounds like you've got quite heavy steps. Like you really must hit the ground quite hard.
Apparently I do.
I'm just trying to picture it now because I'm listening to you through my AirPods and I'm simulating the walk while holding the stem. I guess it's not really realistic enough, but I can't really imagine pulling it out.
Okay.
But also trying to tap it while you're walking's a bit of a game sometimes.
Right. And I have accidentally triggered it because I don't know, if they're uncomfortable and I'm fiddling with them in my ears or something. I have accidentally set off Siri. I've also accidentally hung up on people on phone calls because sometimes I actually just tap the AirPods because I'm I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just like playing with my fingers while I'm talking to someone on the phone and had my hands up by my head, and I don't know if it was out of instinct or what, but I've just tapped my AirPods and it's hung up on them.
Your subconscious doesn't want to continue this conversation, so your hands are just like, well, boop boop.
Yep.
When are these rumored to be coming out? Let's see.
I think we could see them as soon as this month.
Yeah, so the first rumor was an event on March 16, but who was it? Mark Gurman has poured cold water on that speculation, but possibly another date in March. We're certainly going to have some sort of announcements in March because 14.5 has to come out, and as we're going to get to soon, it's got some very Apple Taggy related features in it, especially in this latest beta. And the AirPods are fairly due for a refresh, so crossing fingers it would be actually the 16th because that means it's the night before our next show.
We'll have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm getting overdue. My AirPods are just starting to show signs of battery wear, so I'm ready to get something new.
Well, I'm not overdue, but Yasmin is sorely overdue because she's still kicking around with launch day 2016 and
really?
AirPods 1. Yeah.
And they still work.
She can't use the right one to make phone calls anymore because the mic drain, this is the typical thing, the right one when using the mic dies within minutes. That's the exact same thing when I had my original AirPods. I just used the mic a lot more. But yeah, she's at that point. So she's very ready to receive my hand-me-down AirPods, which are, as we know, mere months old. And I'll wrangle my way into the new pair.
There you go.
Yep, it's meant to be. So Apple is not switching to USB-C iPhones in the near future, according to Ming Chi Kuo.
Yeah, this isn't really new news to me. This is, I thought this was common knowledge, but there's been a lot of articles going around in the last week about this for some reason.
People are just dreaming of a USB-C future.
Right.
The interesting thing I read in this article is the apparent text in the report explains the rationale behind Apple's decision. And this is the quote. We believe that USB-C is detrimental to the MFI business's profitability and its waterproof specification is lower than Lightning and MagSafe. So from a business perspective, Apple's making money on MFI, Lightning's MFI, MagSafe is MFI, USB-C isn't. So why would they forego that slice of the pie? And then the waterproof thing is like actually it's not all about money. It's about user experience as well. Don't forget, we're that first. That's why we don't put the brick in the box.
Right. I mean, I agree that money is probably a factor. I don't think it's the number one factor. I think it's this rumored portless iPhone that we've been hearing about for, I don't know, since iPhone 10, for 4 years, that the iPhone's going to go portless any day now. And if that's been their target this whole time, I think that switching to USB-C would have been a mistake. because the uproar from switching to Lightning in 2012, when everyone had 30-pin docks or half a dozen 30-pin cables around their house, or their radio had 30-pin, or their car had 30-pin, it was a hassle to upgrade. And now there's even more people with Lightning accessories around. And so to make all of them switch to USB-C for the couple years until they get rid of the port entirely, I think would have been more consumer hostile than just keeping Lightning around a little longer than its, best buy date.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also contrast these two scenarios. Oh, we're getting rid of Lightning for MagSafe only, and we're getting rid of USB-C for MagSafe only. Which one is going to be received better? We're almost certainly getting rid of Lightning, because there are a lot of fans of USB-C. And yeah, like you said, USB-C would have been a diversion from the path towards portless. And if they were going to do it, it had to be like years ago, like when USB-C was becoming the thing. Certainly not in 2021.
Right.
Another, not really a quote, but Quo also notes that Apple doesn't think MagSafe's ecosystem has reached the point where it can be relied on as the sole charging method for the iPhone. That's pretty obvious, because MagSafe is like just a nascent technology, really.
Yeah, it's only a few months old.
But if you imagine in 2022, and it's possibly everywhere, and has a decent third-party ecosystem of cheap MagSafe accessories, then that's the point where you just get rid of all the ports.
Sure. And MagSafe doesn't have to be everywhere, because iPhones still charge with Qi as well. And
right,
Qi is a standard that's been around for 15 years, if not more, at this point.
Serious? Wow. I had no idea it was so old.
The first... This is great. This is because this is how everything is copied from Palm. MagSafe is such a ripoff of how the Palm Pre charged. It had a Qi coil in it with magnetic alignment in like 2008.
Are you kidding? Wow.
Yeah. So Qi's been around a long time. Even this concept of magnetic alignment's been around a long time. So there's Qi chargers everywhere now, and especially now that the iPhone has it, and especially if it becomes the only way to charge it, you'll really just see them everywhere.
Oh yeah, for sure. One little side line from this article on The Verge is, I just wanted to note it, don't really need to talk about it, is rumours of a hole punch camera in the 2022 iPhones. I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I think it's a logical progression between where we are now and completely seamless under-screen camera. I'm curious what that means, though. Is like, where are the other sensors going to go? You have a hole punch for the camera, but where's the flood illuminator and the dot projector and where is the IR camera going to go? Where's everything? I don't understand how this is going to work.
This far out, I'm guessing that they're just testing like development prototypes to see what actually is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those other things can go behind the screen without compromising their functionality so much. Unlike the current under-screen cameras that we see, which are fairly bad, like extremely bad.
I feel like you're right, because if all you have to do is shine infrared light through the screen, that seems like it could be done. Because you don't have to worry about image being obscured or anything else. So yeah, I think that's a solid possibility.
Next up is an article I thought was very interesting. It doesn't really apply to me because it's Apple Card related, but maybe you've got some thoughts. So this is a blog post by a guy called Dustin Curtis, and he says that Apple Card disabled my iCloud, App Store, and Apple ID accounts. So just a quick summary of the story is that he bought a MacBook, traded in his old one. He bought it using his Apple Card. The trade-in kit never arrived, so he didn't end up sending his MacBook back. So then Apple tried to charge the entirety of the new MacBook purchase to his Apple Card, but due to some banking issue, no payments were made on the Apple Card. End result is Apple blocks his App Store account and his Apple Music and some of his iCloud, but not all of his iCloud, like his calendar stopped working. But iMessage and Photos kept working for some reason. I thought it would probably all fail since it's all iCloud and it's all been blocked. If you, the comments on the Reddit post are basically like, oh, this guy's an idiot for, firstly, not sending back his trade-in on time, and secondly, not paying, like making sure his credit card's paid up to date. So that's right. Like the overwhelming opinion is that this guy made a mistake. But before I read the comments, my thinking was, why should this guy be punished via App Store and iCloud for missing a credit card payment? Like, it's a strange world that these two things are linked in a way that can happen. There's no other credit card that I can think of where you miss a payment and like other parts of your life get turned off. Like fairly important parts as well. Well, maybe not important in terms of like music, but say if his entire iCloud account had ended up being locked as well, then what, suddenly he doesn't have his family photos anymore? Say his iMessage gets blocked as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to have these two seemingly very distinct services like joined at the hip. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go along with this logic for the time being, but I don't actually think this is what happened. But assuming that is what happened, yeah, this sounds completely wrong. And this, it wasn't like he hadn't been paying his card for months. If everything he says is to be taken at face value, he was 15 days late on a credit card payment, and as a result, Apple shut everything down, which is crazy. That's a crazy overreaction. Any other credit card, you get a late fee or something like that. An Apple Card's not supposed to have fees. So they say we don't have fees, but actually we'll just shut down your entire
that's why we don't have fees, because we're going to hold you to hostage like your digital life.
The idea that purchases from Apple carry a different weight on your credit card than any other purchases you make. Like, this is the first solid reason that I've been presented, like, why Apple shouldn't have a credit card. They're going to treat purchases made through them differently, and they're going to punish you for not paying your card on time.
Yeah, where's credit card neutrality?
Right. So if that is exactly what happened, there's an issue here. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think this is an Apple Card related issue at all. Because let me quickly read you the email he received. We've been unable to collect full payment for your new iPhone, which it was supposed to be a Mac, but I guess it was some mix-up here. Anyway, we've been unable to collect full payment. As a result, we will block the device on the order from further access to the Apple iTunes and Mac app stores, and disable all accounts associated with the device purchase on the order. That sounds to me like something they would do with any card. If you bought an MacBook Pro and you put it on just whatever Visa credit card you had, and due to the nature of how you were going to do a device trade-in, but then didn't, so they only ever got partial payment, and they couldn't charge you anymore, and they just couldn't get the rest of the money back. If your payment bounced, I think they would do this anyway. This doesn't sound like it's specifically because it's an Apple Card.
So you're saying they would block what? They'll block your iTunes account?
They block your iTunes account, your Apple account.
Your Apple account.
If you buy a device from them and you don't pay them for it, they're going to block your account. And it just so happens that this guy did it with an Apple Card.
So but the email actually says, to resolve the issue, please call blah to speak with an Apple Card specialist at Goldman Sachs. Mm-hmm. So that's only there because it was bought with an Apple Card, and say he bought with just some I don't know, some other Visa or MasterCard, that paragraph would just not be there.
Yeah, that is the most interesting part. But it does say once it's resolved, reply to this email so we can charge your card for the difference. So once we can charge your credit card, let us know. This seems like maybe extra information because you paid with an Apple Card and not exclusively an Apple Card issue.
Okay.
That's my understanding because I would expect this reaction from Apple if you got a computer and didn't pay for it through any payment method.
Yeah, that's pretty clever to remove Apple Card from the equation and then consider the whole scenario again. What you're saying does make a lot of sense.
So I don't think, because this doesn't say you're 15 days late on your Apple Card payments, so we're canceling your Apple account. That's my best understanding of it, but I doubt we'll ever get much of an update because he's already done an update saying his accounts are reactivated, and he never elaborated past that.
Well, what we need is someone to do the same situation, to get in the same situation with a non-Apple card. See what happens. Maybe when these MacBook Pros with HDMI and SD cards are released, I'll trade in my current MacBook Pro and then never send it back and see what happens. I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
I'm surprised. I don't know where this guy is based out of, but I'm surprised that he was able to say he's going to trade in a MacBook Pro, and Apple just didn't charge him the full amount. When I bought an iPhone a couple years ago and thought I was going to trade in my old iPhone as credit towards it, they charged me the full amount of the iPhone up front, and then were going to refund me whatever amount they deemed my phone was worth.
Okay.
Which makes sense if they're receiving a used product, that they can't tell you the exact value that it's worth initially.
The whole trade-in system just varies so much, like country by country. Like in Australia, the trade-in system's not even Apple. It's just some third party you've never heard of.
Right. Yeah. So maybe this is a Mac thing. Maybe it's a different country thing. Maybe it's just changed in the few years since I've tried to do a trade-in. But this is the kind of issues that crop up, so I'm surprised they allow it to be done this way.
Yeah. Maybe it's even a COVID-related change of procedures. Who knows?
Maybe.
Knowing you'd send something in and they'd say like, "Sorry, it's too scratched to be worth anything.
It's
sorry."
Destroyed.
Yeah. Can't believe the way you treated it.
Man. Yeah, I'm never doing trade-in again just because of how awful that experience was.
Don't blame you. So last up is that Apple has seeded the third beta of iOS 14.5 and iPadOS 14.5 to developers. We talked about the second beta and all the new features. The only thing of note that I've seen so far related to this beta specifically is a new items tab in the Find My app. So now you've got people, devices, items, and me. And when you click on items, it shows a little icon of keys, a backpack, and a bike, and a function to actually some text to keep track of your everyday items, add accessories or other items that are compatible with Find My, and they will appear here. Then two buttons underneath, add item, which launches an automatic searching thing, which says follow the instructions provided by the manufacturer to make your item discoverable. And another button, identify found item. So you can learn more about lost items or see if the owner has left a message by connecting to it. So if you find someone's keys out in the park and then you kick off this function and it'll find it'll go beyond what's just paired to your iPhone and search for other things that are nearby. So yeah, all the wording currently is very specific, very short to mention that the accessories are from other manufacturers and that sort of wording. Certainly nothing that says AirTag, but I suppose it could just all be turned around with some string updates in the public release of 14.5 to, slip in AirTag.
Sure, and there are a couple other devices that would support this feature. The Power Beats Pro are adding support for Find My, and would be added through that method.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Belkin is working on a headphone as well that's going to use the Find My API.
Yeah, okay. What about Tiles? They're adding it, aren't they?
Oh, are they? I hadn't heard that. I would believe it if they want to be competitive.
Yeah, they do. Actually, it was more the other way around. It was just the thing I read, which I just refound, is that Apple is allowing other manufacturers to add it. So it wasn't saying that Tile is doing it. It's just saying that Tile has the potential to do it.
Right. So I think that combined with, man, I've been saying this for 2 years now, but combined with the rumors of the upcoming release of AirTags, I think that this is just another piece of evidence pointing to us being able to see them in the very near future.
March 16, perhaps?
Sometime in March. I think the 16th date specifically has been called into question, but sometime around there.
Okay. So you think, I mean, the writing's on the wall that it's going to be March, because how long can they hold on to 14.5?
Right.
Probably like a month maximum.
Right.
5 tags for $99. I'm sticking to that.
I'm sticking to 3.
All right. See what March brings us.
Loser buys the winner's AirTags.
Wow. Okay. That could, it's pretty expensive.
That'd probably be more expensive for me than you, right? Because even with the currency conversion, there's usually a bit of an upcharge in other markets.
Yeah, sometimes, but it also just depends where like that nice figure falls. Like, so currently, if you do just a direct conversion, 99 USD is 125 Australian. Oh, actually, they're pretty close. But nothing Apple sells is $125, so it's probably going to be like 129 or 149 or something like that. But yeah, I think you'll probably get stung if you lose. Sorry. Was there anything else in the latest beta that you wanted to talk about?
No, that was the one thing I wanted to talk about.
All right. I'm James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'll post the show notes at reddit.com/r/the-Apple show.
Okay, so I just went to Mac Rumors for this last article, and I just saw that they just had a post that in the latest Mac OS beta, there's some new strings found that apparently say that Rosetta 2 is getting removed from M1 Macs. Not
in some regions.
Right, Rosetta is no longer available in this region. Applications requiring Rosetta will no longer run. That sounds like a big issue.
But why would they do that?
Well, I'm just reading this article, and there's nothing in it alluding to why, but I have a theory. Intel is very, very protective of x86. That's only them and AMD can make x86 chips. And they have protected the architecture in other ways in the past, including suing out of existence emulators and whatnot of x86. So I'm wondering if Intel is getting a bit desperate and trying to legislate or litigate their way out of competition by blocking Apple from creating Rosetta 2 and selling it or marketing it.
I smell a fight on the horizon. If
Yeah,
not already in progress.
And I don't even know if Rosetta 2 is something that Intel would have any claim over, because they're not emulating, they're transpiling and then running natively. But I could see Intel still wanting to cause a fight about it, especially with how desperate their advertising has been looking recently.
Exactly. Well, that's something to follow. I mean,
Yeah,
for this to
keep an eye
be
on
there
this.
means it's already been happening in the background, but I haven't heard any rumors or rumblings about it. So, uh, no doubt something will get out though.
Right. This could be a big stumbling block for Apple Silicon, because the fact that everything has just worked in the transition period and you haven't had to worry about which apps are Apple Silicon or x86 has made this so smooth. And the fact that like Rosetta 2 can transpile things to run as fast or even faster in some cases, it's just been awesome. But if you just completely lose support for any app that's not updated, that could really slow down Apple's transition time.
Hopefully these regions are fairly limited, and the workaround is just to change the region of your computer to something that, has a similar date and language format and stuff like that.
Yeah, hopefully. So we're certainly too early to be seeing Apple pulling Rosetta. It's not like everyone's caught up in transition at this point. So this has to be
No, not quite.
some kind of legal issue. This is not voluntary.
From earlier on in that same thread from Steve Moser, Apple is getting more serious about gaming on macOS with settings to map controller buttons to keyboard layouts. This is a demonstration of X, Y, right, bumper, left joystick, all being mapped to keys on a keyboard. Interesting.
That's pretty cool. I have certainly used many programs over the years to map controllers to keyboard buttons or vice versa when I've tried to play video game emulators on the computer. So it's cool to see that they're at least playing with adding native support to that.
Speaking of gaming, there's a game from the creator of Final Fantasy, maybe, coming to Apple Arcade.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The whole Final Fantasy, what do you call it? I'm completely blind to Final Fantasy. I have no idea anything about it. All I know is the name,
Played it.
and then there's a billion of everything about it.
Fantasian.
Yeah, that's the one. Could be interesting. I've been really underwhelmed by the latest game releases on Apple Arcade. A lot of them just look bad and have like amateur-looking artwork and don't play well. I haven't really found anything since the last Campfire that's really got me going.
I just don't play games on my phone. If my kids didn't play Apple Arcade all the time, I wouldn't even have it. But well, I guess I would now that I pay for Apple One. But I don't play any games at all. So even if a really good game came out, it wouldn't catch my interest for more than a couple days until the novelty wore off, and then I'd go back to
I think
no games.
The Last Campfire is the only game I've ever finished in my life. That's how little I'm into gaming.
Oh, it's a game you can complete. That's interesting.
Yeah. Aren't all games? I guess not.
No, as a matter of fact, I feel like most mobile games are kind of, I guess there is quite a few that aren't, but I feel like good mobile games are kind of endless. You know, mini Metro, you're kind of trying to up your score, or man, this is going to tell you how dated my knowledge of phone games are. Doodle Jump, you're just jumping as high as you can.
Doodle Jump, Tiny Wings.
Yeah, exactly.
Just plays on until it's impossibly hard.
Right. Well, it's games you can pick up and set down at any point. I think especially, like, I already am not interested in mobile games, but mobile games that have a story and a definitive beginning and end would be even less appealing to me. Those are hard for me to play even like on a console. Because if I get into a game with it, if I get into a game with a story and progression, I maybe play it for, I don't know, I could play it for a few days or a few weeks, but then I get uninterested in, I guess it's just how I am with video games as a whole. Then I get uninterested, and then someday I want to play it again, but I haven't played it in months, so I feel like I got to start from the beginning so I can remember all the buttons and the story, and so I end up playing the first 10, 20 hours of a game over and over again. And that's my experience with all video games since I was a kid. So I'm not into games with stories. I like things that I can just pick up and set down whenever.
I just want to note that I'm not playing it on my phone. I'm only ever playing on the computer. So I treat it less like a mobile game, I guess. That's what I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, I keep forgetting. My kids like the Apple Arcade on the TV. I give them one of those Nimbus controllers from SteelSeries, and they play like Ocean Horn and stuff on the TV, and that's been kind of a new thing they've gotten into recently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. And Oceanhorn looks good. If there's a game series that I like at all, it's Zelda. That's the one I'll play. And Oceanhorn looks a lot like a Zelda game.
Yeah, I played probably an hour or so of Oceanhorn. It's really good. If I was going to pick something back up now, I'd probably go for that one.